Hey everyone, Noir here. Let's get into today's Reddit story.
I am 30 years old, and my wife cheated on me with my older half-brother. When my father found out, instead of supporting me, he told me to stay quiet to protect the family's image. That was the moment I decided I was done. If they wanted to keep pretending everything was perfect, I was going to destroy that illusion for good. My half-brother, Brandon, is 35. He is my father's son from his first marriage. My father divorced Brandon's mother when Brandon was only 6 months old. My mother always told me they split because they were not right for each other, but my father stayed involved in Brandon's life and shared custody. 2 years later, my father met my mother. They married within a year. She still calls it a fairy tale. According to her, she was sitting in a coffee shop when my father saw her through the window, walked inside, and asked her on a date. After only a few months together, he proposed, and she immediately accepted because she believed they were meant to be. The story sounds romantic until you hear the rest. About a year after they married, my father cheated on my mother with a co-worker. Feeling guilty, he admitted everything. Instead of leaving him, my mother forgave him. They went to marriage counseling, and she believed having a baby would fix their marriage. That baby was me. My mother still sees it as a love story, but I never did. My parents always cared more about looking perfect than actually being happy. Whenever people came over, they acted like they were deeply in love, and everyone praised them for keeping the romance alive. At home, though, they were just like any other couple. The perfect marriage was nothing more than an act. That obsession with appearances carried over into raising me. My parents signed me up for endless classes because they wanted me to excel at everything. I barely had any free time until high school, when I finally pushed back and they eased up. My father expected both Brandon and me to be top students. Brandon got into one of the best medical schools in the country, while I attended an Ivy League university for business. The pressure was intense, but it paid off. Unfortunately, my father also believed he should control our personal lives. My mother always agreed with him. When Brandon turned 30, my father told him it was time to settle down. Brandon had already been dating Natalie, now 34, on and off for nearly 5 years. After talking to my father, he proposed within a year. They married 3 years ago and had a son last year. Brandon never told me any of that. I heard it from my father when he gave me the same speech earlier this year. He bragged that he convinced Brandon to marry Natalie and wanted me to do the same. He even used his own affair as an example, saying he had been unhappy but stayed with my mother and that having a child gave his life purpose. He suggested I follow his example. I did not take his advice seriously. I had already planned to propose to my girlfriend, Vanessa. We had been together for 3 years and living together for 2. 2 months after that conversation, I proposed on my birthday. Vanessa said yes, and we got married 3 months ago. I thought everything was finally falling into place. I was completely wrong. Only 2 months into our marriage, I filed for divorce. A week ago, I discovered Vanessa had been having an affair with Brandon ever since we got engaged. I only learned the truth by accident. I was looking for one of my shirts while Vanessa was out. Thinking she had mixed it in with her clothes, I searched through her closet. While checking a pair of jeans, I felt something inside one of the pockets. I pulled it out and found a second phone. The second phone was not locked, and there was only one conversation on it. The number looked familiar. It was Brandon's. My stomach dropped, but I kept reading. Their messages began about 3 weeks after I proposed to Vanessa. They were flirting like teenagers. A few months later, they confessed they loved each other and promised to stay together no matter what. Their plan was unbelievable. They would stay with us until my nephew turned 5, then both file for divorce, admit the affair, and finally be together. Brandon would get shared custody of his son, and they would leave us behind. I was sick. They had planned to lie to us for 5 years. I immediately packed my things. Vanessa was going to be home late, so I had plenty of time. Before leaving, I took screenshots of every message, drove to a hotel in another town, and left the burner phone on our bed. I did not leave a note. She would know exactly why I was gone. Even though Brandon and I were never close, we had never had any real problems. That made it hurt even more. From the messages, I learned everything started the night I proposed. I asked Vanessa to marry me during my birthday party with all our friends and family there, including Brandon. While I was busy talking to everyone, Brandon and Vanessa were kissing in the backyard. I remembered wondering where Vanessa had disappeared to, but I assumed she was fixing her makeup. Reading those texts, I realized they kept talking about that night and laughing about their little meeting. It made me sick. While I was celebrating our engagement, she was making out with my married brother, who already had a wife and a child. That same night, I called my lawyer and told him I wanted a divorce. I also wanted to make sure Vanessa would not walk away with alimony or a financial settlement since I earned much more than she did. The messages made it even worse. Vanessa mocked my career and said she would rather be with a doctor than a glorified accountant. The funny part is that I co-own a successful business with 2 friends from business school. I never understood why she looked down on me when she worked as a corporate employee herself. I always knew she liked money, but reading those messages was painful. They laughed about me behind my back, and from that moment, I truly hated Brandon. I knew I had to tell Natalie eventually. She deserved to know she was married to a cheater. I just was not ready yet because I was in a terrible place mentally. As soon as I found the phone, I blocked both Vanessa and Brandon everywhere. I had no interest in hearing excuses. After 2 days at the hotel, I expected at least one sincere apology. Instead, on the 3rd day, my father called. He said he knew about the affair. Vanessa had obviously realized what happened when she found the burner phone on the bed. Since I was ignoring both of them, Brandon went to my father instead. At first, my dad said he was sorry, and I thought he was actually supporting me. Then he asked me not to tell anyone about the affair. I already knew where the conversation was going, but I asked why anyway. I secretly recorded the call. He admitted that both he and Brandon were worried I would tell Natalie. Since I had blocked Brandon, my father said it was his responsibility to speak for him. He told me that neither he nor my mother wanted Natalie to find out. According to them, Brandon had a child to think about, and exposing the affair would ruin his life. Natalie came from a powerful and well-connected family, and they believed she could use her influence to gain the upper hand in a custody battle. So, my parents wanted me to stay quiet. They even claimed they had made Brandon promise to end things with Vanessa. Then my father suggested I forgive my wife, just like my mother had forgiven him after his affair. He actually called their marriage a success despite everything that happened. I could not believe what I was hearing. After everything Brandon had done, my parents still expected me to protect him and lie to Natalie. I ended the call immediately. I was furious and had no intention of listening to another word. I always knew my family cared more about their image than anything else. But this was insane. I could not believe they actually expected me to stay quiet. Then again, I was not surprised. The apple does not fall far from the tree. My dad wanted me to keep my mouth shut so Brandon could get away with cheating. They expected me to sweep everything under the rug, forgive Vanessa and Brandon, and pretend nothing had happened just so the family could look perfect. That made me furious. I could not believe they thought it was a good idea. In the heat of the moment, I texted Natalie and told her everything. I even told her that Brandon had asked my dad to pressure me into keeping it a secret. I also sent her the screenshots I found on the burner phone. Then I turned my phone off because I knew everything was about to explode, and I did not want to deal with anyone. A few hours later, I turned my phone back on. It was flooded with missed calls and messages from my family. They were all angry with me, but the only message I cared about was Natalie's. She simply thanked me for telling her the truth and said she knew what she had to do. It sounded a little ominous, but I soon found out why. According to the rest of my family, Natalie confronted Brandon. They had a huge fight, and she moved in with her parents, with their son. Divorce was now a real possibility, and she was even considering filing for full custody. That would not be good for Brandon because even if he got shared custody, she would probably try to limit the time he spent with his son. For some reason, my family blamed me for everything. If they wanted a different outcome, maybe they should have taught Brandon not to cheat. This was his fault, not mine. Over the next few days, I got countless angry messages after Natalie left him, and they kept saying I had ruined a happy family. But that made no sense. If they had really been happy, Brandon would never have cheated. I know I did the right thing, but I still feel a little uneasy after hearing how miserable Brandon is now. I also do not like the idea that he could lose time with his son. I do not have kids, so I cannot fully understand what that feels like, but I know it is different for them. It has been almost a week since I told Natalie the truth, and things have finally quieted down. The main reason is that I blocked almost everyone. I do not need that kind of negativity in my life. The only person I have not blocked is Vanessa because we have to deal with the divorce. She keeps messaging me, saying she was not thinking clearly and apologizing for cheating on me. I honestly do not know what she expects. None of it is changing my mind. I do not feel sorry for her. If anything, I am glad I found out before we got married. I cannot imagine marrying her and discovering years later that she had been cheating the whole time. I am trying to see the positive side. Vanessa was never the right person for me. Someone who agrees to marry me and then hooks up with my half-brother could never be my soulmate. I was wrong about her, and I'm glad I learned the truth when I did. I am still staying at the hotel, and thankfully nobody has found me yet. I know it is only a matter of time, because there are not many hotels around here, but for now I am safe. I have been working from the hotel. It has been lonely, but there is not much else I can do. The only thing I really care about now is getting the divorce finalized. Vanessa has already been served, but she still has not responded. I think she is hoping I will change my mind, because she keeps begging me. She can hope all she wants, but it is not going to happen. It has been 3 days since my last update, and sure enough, my dad and Brandon managed to track me down. They checked every hotel in the city, and, after realizing I was not staying in any of them, started searching outside of town. Eventually, they spotted my car in the parking lot of the hotel where I was staying. And I had already told the front desk not to tell anyone I was there. When my dad and Brandon asked about me, the staff said nobody by my name was staying there. Since they had already seen my car, they knew the receptionist was lying and completely lost it. They started yelling in the lobby, swearing at the staff, and making such a scene that the front desk called me downstairs. When I came down, security escorted both of them outside before I agreed to speak with them. I had no idea what they thought they could accomplish. The truth was already out, and Natalie already knew everything. My dad and Brandon claimed they had a solution to fix the situation. They said I would probably be called to testify during the custody case, and all I had to do was lie. They wanted me to say Natalie was an unstable wife and mother, and that was supposedly why Brandon cheated on her. They believe that would help Brandon get full custody. Apparently, things were already looking bad for Brandon. Besides the affair, Natalie had plenty of complaints that painted him as a terrible father. He was hardly ever home, and now she knew he had been spending that time with Vanessa. She also said he never helped with their son, changing diapers, feeding him, and every other baby responsibility fell on her. Whenever she asked Brandon for help, he always claimed he was too tired. On top of that, he refused to do any housework. She had managed everything before they had a baby, but after that it became too much, and she wanted out of the marriage. Honestly, hearing all that only convinced me even more that I had done the right thing. Natalie deserved better than him. What really amazed me was that they expected me to help them after everything they had done to me. They seriously wanted me to lie in court so Brandon could get full custody. I told them no. I said they meant nothing to me anymore, and I had nothing to make up for. Then I walked away without waiting for an answer, because I knew nothing they said would change my mind. I also asked Marcus, one of the security guards, to remove them from the property since I did not want them anywhere near me. After seeing how aggressive they had been, security threw them out of the hotel. I ended up apologizing to the staff for their behavior. The only reason the police were never called was because the hotel wanted to avoid the bad publicity. Otherwise, my dad and Brandon probably would have been arrested. Update: it has been 2 days since my dad and Brandon showed up at the hotel. I have not heard from either of them since, but Vanessa has been texting me even more than before. We have already scheduled our first meeting with the court-appointed mediator for next week. She is not even fighting the divorce, so I honestly do not know why she keeps messaging me. I have not opened a single one of her texts because I just do not have the energy to deal with the drama. I figured they were all the same apology about how she was sorry and never should have cheated. To me, those words mean nothing. If she had truly been sorry, she could have picked up the phone and called me, knowing I have never been much of a texter. Better yet, she simply could have stayed faithful in the first place. At first, she only sent me 2 messages a day. Now she is texting me almost every hour. I still have not had the mental energy to read them, but I figured I probably should in case something important was in there. Update: this update is only a couple of hours after the last one. I finally opened Vanessa's messages and found out she had ended things with Brandon. They had a serious conversation, and she discovered that, for him, the relationship had only been physical. All the promises he made were empty words. Unlike Brandon, She had actually developed real feelings for him, so she was devastated when she realized he had never intended to build a future with her. She apologized again for everything she had put me through. She also told me she would not fight the divorce or ask for any settlement or alimony because she knew at least that solved one problem. I would not have to go through a long, drawn-out divorce or spend months fighting in court. I did not reply to Vanessa because I honestly did not know what to say. As sad as it is, she brought this on herself. What was she thinking getting involved with a married man who had a child while she was about to marry me? It was a terrible decision. Still, things ended up working out in my favor, so I really cannot complain. I am glad I finally checked her messages because they turned out to be important. I forwarded every text to my lawyer and saved screenshots in case I needed them later. Update. It has been a couple of months since I last posted because I have been really busy. The divorce ended up taking a lot less time than I expected. In our state, there is only a 90-day waiting period, so once that was over, everything moved pretty quickly. Vanessa only kept the things she had bought for herself. I got everything else, including the house, so I moved back in. She kept her car, and since we had not been married very long, our finances were still separate, so there was really nothing to divide. Brandon and Natalie are still in the middle of their divorce, and from what I have heard, the custody battle has become pretty ugly. I feel bad for my nephew because he is stuck in the middle of all this. Thankfully, Natalie told me I am still welcome to see him. That was a huge relief because I really love the little guy, and I hope to have kids of my own someday. Just definitely not with Vanessa. Right now, I am focused on getting my life back on track, and so far things have been going well. I just hope they keep going that way.